welcome to this night's episode of Roll This. A bunch of random friends that get together and play Dungeons & Dragons every Monday night at 7 p.m. right here. Thank you guys for popping in out of the gate. First announcement, as always, we have our dice giveaway, which for this episode is, what are these even called? Festive Circus. If you go to giveaway.rollthis.com or type !giveaway in the chat, you'll be able to get entered into that and see a much better picture than just me holding it up. I was actually going to make a thing where it pops up on the screen, but I didn't get that done. So anyways, yeah, if you guys want to get in on that, you just go to that link and you'll be able to do all the things and potentially win a new set of dice for yourself. We don't really have much else to announce or go over or anything like that. As always, our merch store is open if you're interested in supporting us that way. Yeah, so thanks for being here. We're going to jump right in, basically. We are making a couple changes with the way that we do our fights and stuff, so we're going to change like the map scenes, but our primary scenario is going to just be this scene with everybody. Pretty much going to be here throughout the evening, right here until we go to our break, and then until we get to the end where we will show those of you that have followed, subscribed, donated bits, whatever it may be, donated for our Play Live campaign. Any of that stuff will pop up in like a credit scene, which is kind of cool. Also for the Play Live campaign, we're aiming to raise $5,000 for St. Jude, which is a fantastic hospital and organization that is dedicated to eliminating childhood cancer. So if you feel like jumping in on that, then you are then you are definitely welcome to do so. So that would be a fantastic thing to jump in on with us. Let's switch out of this mode. I was in the wrong mode on software. And it looks like OBS is actually potentially having a mild issue. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure we will get that sorted out. Oh, yeah. So we're going to drop that. Not sure what's going on here at the moment, but we're going to kind of work on this, get it fixed real quick here, and jump into things. So for some reason, you guys, your camera is just like locked.
Really
it's like frozen on you guys. I promise that there are more people here than just me. This was actually having a weird like issue prior to starting, and I thought I'd fixed it, but we're gonna test this right here. Deactivate it and then reactivate it.
Just play like that all night.
It's so
right? Yeah. I mean, as long as the audio comes through, right? It'll still work. Great for the podcast, right? Properties and oh no, they're gone. Theoretically, hey, they move now. Nice. Fixed it. Cool.
It's called
okay, so
just learned it.
Catching up on our previous episode, we had an encounter with an old woman within the city of Feldar, she's the oldest resident. And she revealed herself after showing the visions of what is going on in the world at the moment pertaining to each of our adventurers. She showed herself to be Morelia, the goddess of shadows. She transformed into her draconic form and then back into her chosen humanoid form, revealing that ability now to Bryn at a future time, to where his transformations can be enhanced into something more than what he's been able to do previously, and then revealing to Kale that there is potential for Koro to be reborn through him. Koro being Kale's god that he serves and worships, with a focus on good and just causes. And then Maze was gifted a glowing maroon leaf from the tree that grows within Morelia's home. She was instructed to be careful with how she used the leaf and what body she dropped it on. Going forward, Morelia transported our party through to Halfgren's area, which was under siege from a band of roving spiders and a drider. Those entered into the clearing shortly after the party arrived. Battle ensued. The party slayed all of the enemies, with Kale falling to a spear yet again, and Maze falling as well, both of which have now been brought back up, and that is where we pick things up. So, anybody have any specific immediate reactions to being brought back to life at the moment, or anything that you want to right out of the gate start to do? At the time, it is starting to darken. The skies are starting to darken and cloud up, but not in a malicious sense like they previously were.
Dark.
Natural clouds starting to roll in, with a little bit of thunder in the distance that you can hear. Along with
Nice thunder effect.
that was a great thunder effect,
that was
wasn't
really
it?
good.
Along with along with the slight sprinkles starting to fall of raindrops.
Maze sits up, looks around. I died. She grabs some leaves near and just puts them on herself, still sitting on the ground. Oh, that does feel better.
Yes.
More unconscious, but it's a kind of death.
Checking for wounds.
You're right.
How many holes is that? 2. Two holes.
You both had gone down, and then
Right.
I hadn't.
Wait, are you back in human
close.
form? Or are you?
I'm still
Yeah,
calm.
I'm back to.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Yeah, I think you got knocked out actually.
Weren't you?
didn't
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got.
Was that-
Is the Drider still there?
Yeah, everything is still there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you guys
Corpses are
are
still there,
basically
then
at this
they're-
moment surrounded by the carnage of your victory. Dead spiders slashed to pieces. Their sickly blackish green blood trailing about you. The Drider has fallen over, kind of slumped on his side, hand out, the spear away from that hand, being speared through one of the spiders as he fell, sitting right in front of Bryn.
So
I want its head. I mean,
Maze
that's.
is poking it with a stick.
I'm gonna take its head and take
Okay.
out my dagger.
that's your prerogative.
Just
I want to make you roll for how good your cut is, how clean your cut is. So roll a d20, and I'll figure out what the modifier is.
You doing a shiny sword cut?
Make it a medicine check.
It doesn't.
Medicine?
hold
Yep.
it well. Oh.
13.
13. So it takes you a minute to get through the Drider's toughened skin, and then breaking through the spine. You the spine portion is a little bit of an ugly cut, but everything else is nice and sharp and smooth. And
Okay.
you now have a Drider's head held up by his ponytail.
Right.
So now that grisly act is done, is there anything we can learn from the body? It's not going to
Yeah,
have
are there
a
any
bunch of
specific
notes or
markings?
stuff on it.
So so do a investigation check for just seeing what he may have on his person, and then perception check
Well,
to
I'm just
see.
curious if he has any symbols or markings on him that Maze would recognize.
Just perception check to see if there's anything. So you rolled a natural 20 then?
Yeah, he did.
+1.
Okay,
There's
so
a 20.
this is another one of those moments I wish I had props to hand you, but
Yeah.
So-
I rolled an 8.
when you investigate the body,
Poke it with the stick.
you find you would find everything she was even looking for too. So he does have a number of tattoos. He's wearing armor. The armor is very well made. So you kind of remove that and set it off to the side. It looks actually I didn't recognize this before now, but it looks like Daedric armor in essence from Skyrim or Elder Scrolls. It's kind of got that layered together black with a blackened raised kind of filigree across it, and then the edges of it kind of come to points as it goes down, and each of the edges have almost like a sharpened blade look to them, along with shoulder guards as well. All that comes off kind of as one piece when you unbuckle it, and you continue to search through the pouches and such that he has. You'll find 100 gold on his body in a black velvet pouch, along with 3 rubies in there as well. So make sure you add that to your possessions. And then there's
I just leave those.
There's no interesting. Okay, cool.
No use for these.
Yeah. Okay. And then
Do I see him do that?
roll perception on it to see.
15 plus 5, 20. Oh no.
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. You see it. If you rolled a 15, you
17.
yeah, absolutely you saw it. So if you're going to pick those up, I would do so.
I'll be like, hey, if you guys want this.
Okay, perfect. And there's no letter or anything like that, but the tattoos that he has all across his body represent evil and darkness. They're not just tattoos that they're runic in nature. Like they're meant to convey something that he's kind of. They convey a stature. They convey a dedication.
Force or
It's not. Yeah, they're not random by any
deity.
means. They're very magically oriented in a way. And you do roll a religion check as well. You can do 2 back to back.
12.
12. Okay. There's one thing I have to pull up here, and that's part of why we didn't went with that. Creatures. There we go. Oh, I was right in everything I've told you guys previously. So it's impossible to ignore. Across his chest is tattooed the blackened symbol of a large dragon's head with its mouth wide open, facing forward, and set into where the eyes would be. There are dermal piercings of rubies. So the red rubied eyes pierced into large too. They're like this big and shaped in the way that like eyes would be slitted back. And that is the symbol of Guthok, which is the shadow dragon that has been missing for some time, but is now rumored to have arisen again in the east.
Did the witch?
Did Morelia show that? Yes.
Morelia.
Yeah. So she referenced Guthok as her true brother.
Right.
After the visions and everything, when you guys were kind of questioning her and gathering who she was and everything, that was one of the things that she had revealed. Well, many typings.
Yes, I know. We're like, story.
Notes.
We will write this down.
I'll rely on you guys to actually take notes. Well, it seems like the dragon woman's visions have been true so far.
Dragon Goddess.
Goddess.
Mind you. Proper titles.
My apologies. And during like the next little bits, I'm just kind of like gathering the corpses to put into a burn pile.
Okay.
I inspect the weapon.
Okay. So that's, there's not going to be a roll for that really. It's a very well-made naginata, which is in semblance to a pole arm, but has a thinner blade on it that's much, I was going to say weller. It's much better crafted. You see kind of the same semblance of the runes carved against the back edge of the blade, along with runic carvings down the kind of swirling around the staff of it. And then the back side has kind of a balancing point that could also be used as a stabbing spear portion.
Do these runes seem to be magical in any way, or?
You could do an Arcana check on them. On the weapon itself to see if that gives you any kind of
just notice
extra
any runes
vibe
or anything like that.
Yeah, to notice if it gives off any kind of aura.
8.
8. It just looks like it was carved similar to the tattoos, showing stature and kind of heralding Guthok.
Okay. So, so yeah, my knowledge in religion would probably aid me with identifying that.
Yeah, if you want to roll religion on top of that, I will have to make it 2 separate ones, but that'll be your recognizing what it is, and now would be to see.
Right, dirty 20.
There's no necessarily, it's not really a magical thing, but it kind of is at the same time. It gives it an enhanced strike. So in essence, this is a like +1 polearm.
Okay.
Like if you were to just break it down as far as stats would be, it does have that kind of ability. It moves faster. And you kind of notice as you pick it up and you start to kind of
Feels really well
move it, and it's perfectly balanced. As you swing it just to kind of test that, it like leaves almost this trail behind it of kind of disorienting visual effect because it is moving so quickly, but yet still controlled perfectly.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take that and have it destroyed. It's an instrument of evil, and we don't want that.
At this time, the storm does start to kind of pick up a little bit more. The rain is now coming down a little bit heavier.
I guess we can't burn anything right now.
We need to hunker down.
Well,
I'm
The
tired.
what?
I guess I can offer you our what lodgings we have. We don't often have visitors here, so there's not a lot of space. But what's ours is yours for the time being.
I appreciate that. I do need a rest.
It's the least I can do after you coming to our aid.
So we sleep.
So we head towards the
least
hut.
hunker
Maze
down
will
in the hut,
splash
yeah.
in a few puddles on the way.
Okay, perfect. So I wish I had a little splash thing. I don't have anything that splashes. That would be an amazing sound effect.
Just randomly splash. And it gets stuck. It's like, geez, how many puddles are out there? Maze, get in here now.
Nice!
Come in.
You're gonna get everything wet.
Oh
I'll
gosh.
wipe my feet.
It's an earthen floor! You're just gonna make it muddy inside.
More puddles.
Come on.
I hear mud's really good
Right.
for the skin.
Not this mud.
Oh.
Anyway,
And as you
Sleepy
kind of
twilight.
start to come in and go to sleep, the storm picks up to a much more intense moment with multiple thunderclaps happening again and again, and
Prepare some herbal
lightning coming
beverages.
through, and you see it off the windows and such continually throughout the night. Are you guys in any particular sleeping order? Are you doing anything to shore up the area? Anybody keeping watch? Anything along those lines?
I made them all some sleepy time tea.
Okay.
I
Perfect.
like tea.
Yeah, amazing. Tea is now a
probably
theme.
works.
Tea.
Perfect.
I'm going to definitely pray.
Okay.
I do what I can to
Guidance.
just gather what's around to make like sleeping.
Okay, perfect. So you start up a small fire maybe as well to keep the place warm, keep the chill off. You have a bed here, so
Right.
you take rest in your own bed. It feels good to be home. This is where you've grown up your entire life. It's relaxing.
Nobody take half grins. He doesn't like to share.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a bedroll.
Yeah, and with that instruction, both of you do kind of lay out. You lay out in front of the fire, your kind of traditional space, rolling your bedroll out that way, absorbing the energy and the heat that comes from that, the light.
Right.
Maze, is there any particular sleeping arrangement you would prefer?
No, sorry, one thing I was wondering if, because Maze has never done this, if it would be possible to animate dead, because I can control it for 24 hours and have one of them be a lookout. I'm trying to see if that's possible.
Okay.
Because it says the creature's under my control for 24 hours, after which it stops obeying any command.
Let me look.
Would we have any kind of like wards or something set up to?
Yeah, because I don't have any kind of
there a
warding
horse?
stuff that would like work.
There's no horses here. You hear a random neighing of horses well off in the
Just
distance,
walking
and
by.
you wonder what it may be.
We don't have any neighbors.
Deer sound weird
We don't
here.
have any neighbors.
That wasn't even on purpose.
Ran with it right away. Nice.
It was there.
Nice.
That's amazing.
The DM will remember this.
Do you speak their native tongue?
So there's no wards or anything of that nature. It's more of like lock the door kind of scenario.
Okay.
We just
Which you
rely on
could.
the forest's natural defense.
Exactly. You would be aware of some things just usually. Like if it was
Like the whole animals not.
yeah, animals would come through and like warn you of something. Like the birds would arise off in the distance, and you'd be like, "Oh, something's over there." That kind of thing. More of
So
a
like a Snow White
naturalized type scenario.
Nothing seems up.
Nothing seems up right at the
I
moment. It's just a
wondered
very
if,
heavy
we
storm
had, like
happening.
default protections up. Or anything
Nope.
like
Only
that.
thing would be a bar on the door that you could shut. That there is a way to open from the outside that you and Halfgren would know as well, but it's a very like specialized kind of way to get in.
Yeah.
Okay, so no need. You don't need me to summon anything.
Oh, yeah, I
to
was gonna
watch
check your
over while
thing.
we sleep.
I
Then.
mean, you do you. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna get some
What is
rest.
that? Did you say
It's
that
not
was
also-
It's animate
false
dead.
animate dead?
Yeah.
Also, here's a quote. I give you the
Spell creates an undead servant.
go
Choose a
pieces.
pile
How
of
many?
bones or a corpse of
50.
medium
50?
or small humanoid within range. That may be your only downfall. I don't know if they are
Oh,
that
humanoid.
size. Oh, it did say humanoid too, didn't
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
not.
Never mind.
They're not huge. Well, the Drider would be, but he's
But he's
definitely
not
large.
within range. Yeah.
And yeah, so and you just don't want to bring something like
Mage
that back.
grows herself, uses enlarge, then animate. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
that's what happens in her dream. But yeah, she's just passing.
Yeah, so Maze curls up in a corner and has this dream of raising all of the spiders to guard around the area. And
they learn a jaunty little dance.
and in Maze's dream state, you see this scenario where the spiders all kind of like stand up on their back legs and kind of curl their other arms around and dance back and forth, doing a little kind of shimmy thing and like leaning forward and, you know, performing for Maze. She's just sitting there, you know, watching it all happen. And you see this kind of in this weird dreamscape area where your view is like third person and first person, and it kind of shows you everything. The Drider body is nowhere to be seen in this, but the spiders are all just kind of dancing around.
Drider is such a wallflower.
And Bryn, you fall asleep with the familiar sense of home. It's very relaxing, peaceful. The sound of nature and rain and the thunder just soothes you into a nice deep recovery sleep. But you find no dreams or anything. You just feel like it's going to be a very good sleep as you start to kind of come to, or not come to, but come into the sleep. And then, Kale, roll a d20 for me.
What do I add to it?
You add a add religion to it.
8.
8. Okay. So, as you fall asleep, you feel restless. You're normally would be fairly comfortable with sleeping on the ground. You've been hardened through multiple instances of travel and fighting, and this is nothing new to you to sleep in a space of this nature. But it's just sleep isn't quite coming to you as it normally would, and you're thinking constantly about all that has been revealed to you. This like, what is this? Koro is alive. He's real. You've never seen your god before. You've never had any actual physical representation. So there's never been like a doubt per se, but you've also never had that proof. Whereas now someone has given you some form of proof in the sense of having an ability that she described and then also showed to you, revealing her status as a goddess and imparting to you that the same could happen with you and your god, possibly taking over your body. And the thought of, what if I then am no more? What if this just means that Koro comes in and Kaelit Strats is gone? What if, I'm now just a vessel watching life happen before me? And it takes you a long time to fall asleep. Everyone else well asleep. May's kind of giggling in her sleep. You hear the soft kind of, not heavy snoring, but like gentle snore here and there from Bryn as he is in deep, deep sleep. Eventually,
I barely hear it.
eventually, you
Not even a
kind
bear
of
now.
not even a bear. Eventually, you find sleep. It is a restless sleep, and as you start to fall asleep, you hear almost this voice mixed in with the thunder, and it is deep and kind of gravelly, and you've never heard this before. It feels like it's your conscience, like you're talking to yourself, but yet it's not you. And it just says your name. Just Carolyn Struts.
Is Claw here?
And there's no I wondered how long it's going to take for that to happen. And there's no other words that come with it. And then as you fall asleep, you have these visions of mountains, like you're flying over them, and your eyesight is in the air. You're not on the ground anymore. You're actually flying, and you see mountains and forests and hidden lakes within the mountains that you wouldn't be able to see from any other perspective. And in that, you just kind of fade. It like fades to gray and then to black, and you have no further dreams or anything. So, after an interesting night's sleep, all of you awaken slowly. In turn, Bren awakening, stretching and shaking off a heavy sleep. Kale wakes up, and the fire is still warm, but is now slowed down to just some coals. And you wake up still a little shaken and uncomfortable from the whole scenario, but feeling well rested. And like after you finally fell asleep, you got good sleep. Maze awakens with fond memories of dancing spiders, falling leaves.
I stored the new leaf over my heart. It's still there. Was that a long rest?
Yes, that would classify as a long rest.
I feel better.
Yep, you should all feel quite a bit better. And now it is up to you as to how you'll proceed with the day. It is still raining, but not as heavily.
I woke up a little bit and Bern was having dog dreams. He did this little pedal thing. It was adorable. You don't look like you slept well. You need more tea.
It was quite the dream, and no.
Putting together whatever.
That tea.
Do you know tea is made of leaves? Love it.
I did know that. Thank you.
Totally beats mead for me.
Putting together what kind of breakfast we would have around.
Okay, perfect. This is a home, so it is well supplied with whatever you would like to fix. Anything you say is something you will be able to have made, unless it's like, dragon steak or something along those lines. Because this is your home, so.
Right.
At which point I'd be like, I have questions.
You're not dragon boring, it's fine. No, just simple breakfast.
Perfect.
Like a porridge, maybe some eggs.
Perfect. And there's a small table that does there are extra chairs in the area. So there's like a chair by the door, a chair just off against like a kind of a writing desk type area to the right of the fire, and then kind of more in the middle of the space. It's not a massive area, but an equivalent to like a cabin, as you would imagine. Okay. A cabin with 2 actual rooms. So there is a small like circle table that you could then move the other 2 chairs to. And then you guys would have a space to sit together if you chose to.
Yeah, I do so. Well, I leave it up to them if they want to sit.
Right.
But
you pass out plates.
I'm a good host.
I'll sit at the table.
Yeah, you pass out plates and for everybody to eat.
Table. I'm going to eat the food.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he does sleep in a tree, like in a tree. Like I was picturing like tree leaves, a little hammock here, not in the tree.
No, you said it was like a couple trees came together.
Yeah, so it's like multiple trees have kind of naturally chosen to just grow in a space to where it creates a wall around it with little windows and such built into that. And you see little birds jumping up to there. Yeah, they've been hollowed out. The fireplace is not in the sense of like stacked stone, but it's kind of just stone that is laid together, so like these large slabs instead of small stacked together pieces. It's very natural and like the earth grew this space.
Okay. It's very nice.
Earth provides.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to eat the food
Yeah.
Perfect.
that Bren has provided.
Perfect. It is a
So-
wonderful meal. It's warm and tastes fantastic.
I'm still just processing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
Mace will take her bowl and actually just step outside and look around. Is it still like raining or anything out there? I mean, birds chirping?
Not raining. It's wet still. That morning kind of fog is still in the area. You do hear the birds are now back in the space, chirping and moving around.
So she's looking up and around for a particular bird,
Mm-hmm.
seeing if, not asking for Lemore to show, just seeing
looking.
if he's there.
Okay.
Because she teleported.
Yeah.
So she's a little worried.
Yep. So do your perception roll.
Okay. Let's see. 12. Where is my perception? No, that's not. Oh, okay. 13.
Okay. So immediately stepping out, you don't see any white ravens in the area. However, as you, or other white animals, because you've noticed recently that Lemore doesn't always appear as a raven to you. Sometimes he can be other creatures, but he's
just a
always
white
white. Always stark white, but not albino. Never red-eyed, always the same bright blue eyes that he's always had. And you don't see him around the specific area, but you're very curious as to where he's been and whether or not he's just maybe hiding somewhere. So you continue to kind of walk around. It takes you probably about 10-15 minutes just to find a space that you're like, you know what, I'm not finding him, I'm just going to sit down and wait. And you sit down upon the back side of where the rocks are piled that the spring flows out of and into the small pool near the house. You look off to the south, and you wait, and you hear the sound of a crow or a raven making that kind of cawing sound. You glance about quickly, and you do see a large white raven flutters down and lands right in front of you.
There you are.
And you just kind of like,
I was worried you wouldn't know where we went to. This amazing lady just like pushed us through this tree hole. We ended up here, but it's good to see you, my friend.
and you hear, he doesn't speak, but he also doesn't transform, but you hear, it is good to see you as well. I had to step away from the town for a time. Things were getting too tense for my liking. Too many eyes.
Understand.
How was your visit with Morelia?
Oh, she is amazing. There's so much I want to learn from her. I've learned a little, but with your permission, I would definitely like to learn more from her.
Be careful of her, and do not reveal my presence in this area to her.
Will do.
But by all means, knowledge is always good. And he flutters off. And when he flutters off, it leaves like this trail of like sparkles, like from the ground, like, and then with just extreme speed into the sky, and you cannot see him anymore.
I take my porridge bowl and skip back to the hut.
Perfect.
Pick up a few more leaves from the random trees,
Excellent.
in my bag.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have a nice variety.
Yeah. So pretty.
And while she's out, are you two having any form of conversation with each other, or just silently eating your meals?
I would say that after a bit of time, I would kind of start thinking about the here and now a bit more, and a little less broody and more.
Yeah.
What do we do now? And so, first I start with the. So that was your vision.
Indeed.
What's the deal with hers?
Hers was just like some unseen force approaching from the east, right?
So there were 3 visions. One of which,
But he's asking about her specifically.
so there were 3 visions that you saw. You saw 3 things. And the 3 things were described as being things that pertained to each of you in some capacity. And the vision that you saw was Halfgren's area being under threat, the blades marshaling. And the vision you're questioning specifically is the sitting king of Kazesh being beheaded by a large, black-armored, dragon face emblazoned on the chest, humanoid figure with a heavy helm that is carved in the shape of a black dragon, with horns up as well, and a cape that is tattered and hangs in 2 pieces from each shoulder down, and then comes to a connection at the base of the spine. He rose up, grabbed the sitting king of Kazesh's hair, hold him up to a standing height, drew out a wicked curved blade, and removed his head, throwing it to the floor, and then gesturing to a male tiefling to assume a role upon the throne. Upon doing this, a female tiefling that had been standing beside him, head bowed as well, walked up and rested her hand on his shoulder. And now there is a new king of Kazesh appointed by tyranny and death.
So that's what happened.
Right, but
Such a
so
vivid memory.
I gather that this was your vision because of how quickly you came here, and I know what my vision is. Well, to some extent, it's never happened in any remembered history.
The blades have never gathered in.
Not in that capacity. Sometimes we travel in 5 for big things, but never have I seen such a mass marshalling of the force.
I'm sure that
But
was
hers.
not,
I'm gonna roll knowledge history to see if I recognize the throne, like recognize what's happening, like what kingdom they're in, where it's at.
Yeah.
what you know about Kazesh.
Whichever you would like to go with on that. So yeah, history would probably be fitting.
Not shabby.
21.
21. You know that this is the city of Kazesh, which is in the, it's in the east comparative to where you are, but it's not in the far east.
Right, it's on the other, like there's another continent, right?
So it's not another continent. It's still on the same continent of Anadar. Kazesh is directly north of where the central city is, the capital of Anadar, and it is in relation to where you currently are. There's the Cloudspire Mountains to the north. Over to the right, there's Ursil, which is a mountainous castle structure with a town attached to that that's built into the side of the mountain.
Right, that's where the dwarves are from?
No, it's actually a human settlement. It was.
We're looking at
the Hobbit.
Right.
We're like looking at this
And
map.
that map is roughly drawn. I hadn't gotten to show that to you yet,
That's fine.
Audrey, but it's roughly drawn, but it does kind of show you what the description is here that I'm giving.
Okay.
At the edge of the Cloudspire Mountains is where that is. It was crafted with the aid of dwarves, but it is not a dwarven settlement per se. It's it's an all-encompassing settlement. That's led by humans.
Just turn the map over. There we go.
And then you've got a kind of an open plain between that and another set of mountains. And at the edge of those mountains, kind of back into like a cave, not cave, but a concave space that's cleared out. There's the Everdark, which is a elven space that is it's called Eradura in the elven tongue, and it's where the dark elves, the surface dark elves live. It is constantly in night. It's known to have a beautiful nebulous type sky above it, very magical and impressive city. And then kind of below that and off a little more to the east is where Kazesh is.
Okay.
So Kazesh is maybe a day to 3 days travel from where Eredur is, and that is where this throne room is. They're hailed as exquisite warriors and craftspeople.
Right.
They have very, very unique styling to their weaponry. It's all very thin and curved, and has this kind of like, if you look at it, it looks dark in essence, but it's still reflective and shines. It's very, very interesting.
Okay. Well, since I know where it is, and I might have an inkling of like what line of kings is currently or was currently there, but her vision is something far off to the east of a regicide. What's that got to do with her?
It did feature tieflings. I don't know if all tieflings know each other. I don't know how they work.
Right.
She's the only one I've ever met.
So either she's royalty or she's a usurper.
I don't like that last one.
No.
But if she was usurping, wouldn't she be there?
I don't know.
Was the king that was murdered, was he a tiefling?
The king that was murdered was elven. Not dark elf, high elven, but the area had a strong mix of elves and tiefling primarily, with a couple of humans, and you saw a large dark colored minotaur off to the side that kind of bowed down to a knee and rested upon his hand upon his greatsword while all of this was happening, and just continued to look at the ground and would not look up during everything, and just clenched at the sword. You also saw a couple of like well-dressed goblins in the area. It's a very mixed space. However, it tends to lean away from humans and high elves, more towards the creature-type humanoids, primarily being tieflings. Kazesh, as you would have explained in the kind of introduction of the area, was founded originally by tieflings. However, through the years, through kind of different political changes that have come into play, elves have kind of taken a bit of a foothold and then rose to power, and there's always been kind of a bit of tension because of that. However, this has potentially alleviated that or caused more.
Well, either way, it's got the whole dragon motif thing going on.
And the winners always have rogues, and if this regicide is related to anything to do with the blades, they aren't stopping in the east. We know that.
And as this conversation kind of comes to a bit of a lull, you hear the like twig snaps, and then Maze bounces back in, smiling, completely oblivious to the speculations and concern that was just expressed between the two of you. She comes in, smiling brightly, happy.
The porridge was amazing. The wildlife is great. And I show them in my bag. Look at all these amazing already dead leaves. I didn't pick any new ones. On the ground, there's some you mix. Like this one has like 5 points. This one's just one. Oh, hi. Yes. Yes, we can certainly talk. Do you want some leaves?
No thanks.
No? Okay. So I put my bowl in essentially where dirty bowls would go. I'm picturing a sink that looks like a giant walnut. So there we go.
Yes.
Go fetch some water so I can kind of tidy up.
Yeah. And it is a sink where it's gravity fed type scenario, but it does have a drain system to it.
I would imagine I have to go find a stream or something.
Yep. So there is the spring directly outside. So as she bounces back in, you kind of, this is what I'm doing, and grab a pail to step out.
As he gets to say, dude. Halfgren, is it? Like, is he not here?
He left a note saying he was not. He'd be gone for a couple days. He said
a couple days from the time of the note being left,
right? Which who knows?
Which was not dated or described in any way.
Useful because druids.
Yep, exactly.
They're what's that?
We work at our own
polychronastic. I think is the phrase. Anyway, we need to talk.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm
Just getting down to brass tacks.
tiefling. I like leaves a lot now.
Whoa, back it up.
Okay.
What was that first thing you said?
Tiefling. You didn't notice the tail? It's just like kind of sitting there. Yes.
And a hood, always.
Yes.
I've always been focused on, trying not to die, failing.
You know what? I'm joining you. I will catch up to you soon.
So, I'm assuming that we just dealt with Bryn's vision.
So, yeah, it was, his mentor being attacked. That thing wasn't attacking him.
What
That's
was it
what-
attacking?
It was coming through.
Coming through
just-
what?
This was his hut. We stepped through and we just kind of stepped out in front of it. And we're like, we got to stop this. We still haven't finished his vision.
Hold up. What?
This is RP.
Yeah.
That's Maze
Yeah,
responding.
he stepped out. We haven't finished his vision. Because he seemed to be in a hurry to save his mentor, I think. He just gave a name and ran.
He doesn't seem too concerned right now, so I don't know if I entirely believe you. I'm gonna roll insight
Okay.
to see if she's
To see if
lying.
she's trying to just dissuade the conversation. And if you are doing so, roll.
Yeah, do you need me to roll?
roll in competition against it.
Deception.
Insight versus deception.
Oh my gosh, I just rolled
What's
a
your
4.
deception?
Plus.
Oh, what would that be plus?
So it's blah 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 blah.
It's a charisma?
Well, there is a
Yeah,
deception.
your
There's a
charisma.
deception.
Where is
If
it?
there's
Oh,
deception,
okay.
deception. So for you, it's plus 3.
7.
And
Well, I rolled a natural 8 plus 5, so 13.
So he beats me.
okay, so you definitely feel like she's just trying to get around it and like
Look, I
Avoid it.
don't appreciate being lied to. I've never been dishonest with anybody.
But I'm not lying. We haven't finished his vision.
He seems to not be too concerned about it. I don't think that I think we're well and done. But let's talk about my vision.
Yeah,
we'll
your
talk about
vision.
yours.
Okay.
And as this kind of happens, Maze, you start to feel a little extra nervous. You feel like he's caught your efforts as well.
Yeah.
So continue.
Your
So
vision.
my vision, it's something that's never happened before, but I've not received any orders. And until then, I'm not going to act on it.
Your vision was all the blades gathering, right?
Indeed.
Why would they gather? Do you know?
I have no idea.
You said they've never done this before. There's no scrolls of history past of them doing this?
When I said that, I don't know. But,
No, was not around. I was drinking tea.
yeah.
Good tea.
So
Good tea. In fact, I have some more.
I don't recall ever telling you that.
We all saw the same vision.
But either way, it's called an order for a reason. It's orderly.
I see, yes.
And until I receive orders, I don't muster. Which brings me to our next concern, which is, by process of elimination, your vision.
My vision was pretty confusing. There was a lot of it that I was not aware of because it happens in my hometown, Kazesh.
So you're from Kazesh.
Yes. But I haven't been there for a very, very, very long time.
How many years?
I left when I was 10.
How old are you now?
That's a very good question. I think Maze is, she in her 20s. Yeah, she's in her 20s.
Early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
At most.
Last count.
Look at my mouth.
She's been away from
20
Kazesh
something.
for at least 10 years.
10 years, yeah. So about
Okay.
10 years.
Why did you leave Kazesh?
It was a very, very urgent needing to leave. You know how kids rebel and run
At
away?
age 10,
Oh, yes.
insight.
That's a fair usage. So,
Okay. Do I get to
10.
roll 2 block?
however-
Or...
go ahead and make a roll, as
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
An 18. Well,
18
not plus
versus,
anything.
Yeah,
that's-
18 versus 10.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't even have to think anymore. You can choose however you choose for it to be displayed.
Let's see. He is,
At age 10, I don't know if I believe you.
well, tieflings age differently than dragonborn, I assume.
And as far as you're concerned, that makes
Tieflings
sense.
do live longer than
Maybe they have a different
most
calendar.
humanoids. So, yes, at 10, we are teenagers. And to rebel against my parents.
That is completely counter to logic. If you age slower, then being 10 would make you closer to 5 than 15.
Tiefling math.
Maze, as you know, is a very quirky, kind of all over the place individual, and she very often
Probably at this,
mixes things
okay,
together
so
in
here's,
this
here's
manner.
what's happening in my head right now. I'm like,
Okay.
I don't think she actually knows how old she was when she left.
Yeah, that would be a very
She probably actually thought she
strong
was
statement.
10, or maybe has forgotten her age, and 10 sounded like a nice round number.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going with.
There is no math. Yeah.
She's not lying. She just doesn't know the truth, and just gave me a number.
Precisely.
And yeah, I just ran away and honestly never looked back. When I saw the vision, I will be honest, since that's what you want. I know the two tieflings, but I not know of the large figure or
Who are the two
Anyone else?
tieflings?
relative.
Parents, uncles, aunts?
Parents that I chose not to see a long time ago.
That's fair.
And I have no need to go see them now. That's what I saw is
You just spoke with a dragon goddess who showed you a vision of your parents committing a regicide. I think you might want to rethink your fate.
that's what you saw. What I saw was my parents being forced into a role. It wasn't them that pulled the blade. It was some man in armor and my father being forced to sit. When I
Victim
was
or not.
little, my father loved nothing more than to help the king. But after I left at 10, I don't know what happened since then. That is not the Kazesh I left.
That's fair enough. I'm sorry to have been so blunt with you.
I feel like that's how you blades are, or dragons are.
Blades, not so blunt. I am very blunt.
Ah,
We sharpen our blades.
as I see, very
Right.
shiny, yes. Now, is the head thing something you blades have to do? I mean, I threw the head at, oh god, what was his name?
Thimdall.
Thimdall, for fun. But
So-
you threw one too.
So the head is proof of completion of contract. Mostly revolving around the whole idea of order and honor. We don't present any false evidence. We only provide proof that we've completed the contract before payment.
So the spider thing is a contract?
I need to provide some sort of proof that something is afoot to somebody.
Gotcha.
So whether I need to return to the Blades and tell the story, or if we return to the city that we just came from,
It's a good
and tell the
question.
mayor, they're going to want to know what's out there.
Where do we go from here?
I think that's a question that we'd all have to decide together.
Decide, do I walk in at some point?
So, basically, right at the end of this, right as that you hear that as you're walking through the door with your pail of water, and that is actually where we're going to take a break, because that seems like a really good spot.
That is a good break
And we're
time.
not at 8, but we're really close. So this is spot on. We're going to go on a short 10-minute break or so, and then actually exactly 10 minutes, because that's what the timer does. But if you would like to take a chance at winning the festive Circus in Black dice, which I will show maybe
Which
there.
is my background on my phone.
Yep, which you can also see a much better picture of, that shows all the crazy colors that are in this and everything. They're really cool dice, very unique. If you'd like to win those, just do !giveaway in the chat or go to giveaway.rollthis.com, get entered, do the things, and we will see you guys in about 10 minutes. right, welcome back. We're all back and situated. Switch the music off. I had to change the music up just so that give you guys something to actually hear during the break there. But we are We are at the time to draw our festive circus dice giveaway. So if you have not entered yet, now is a really good time to go to giveaway.rollthis.com. Granted, by the time you get done typing that, you may not have a chance. So scroll up in the chat, click the link, and I'm going to click the thing to do the drawing in like 3, 2, 1, and draws it 100%. And let's see, I'm trying to think of the way to say it. So your at name is your name, so it should be okay to say your full name. It's Shay Boyette. You have won the dice this week. The festive circus dice. I'll be sending you an email after the show ends tonight, and we'll get those shipped out to you as soon as possible. So be checking your email. You get a thing. It'll be titled like "Roll This Dice Giveaway" or something along those lines. So something that makes it pretty clear that this is what it is. So congratulations. And if you would like to win a chance or have a chance at winning some dice for yourself, be sure to keep your eyes on our Instagram, Twitter, and Discord, which all of those are under just Roll This. Keep your eyes there, and we will announce our next set, which I actually think are pretty cool. Just trying to get the right picture. Should be out before the end of the week at the latest on this coming Friday. We'll have the announcement of what the next set is. So congratulations, Shay, and we will get you that email shortly. So where we were, we had... your guys' interrogation had concluded, in essence.
I like
and
to think of it as a pointed chat.
Yep, the pointed chat had concluded, and you had kind of come to an understanding and a place of comfort in the conversation, then focusing more onto what's next. And as that was brought out, Bryn walks back in, and here we are.
I set about to tidy up, clean dishes, plates, etc.
I get up and assist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how kind.
Yeah, I say likewise. We're your guest? Yeah. Be our guest.
What do you think we do now?
Well, I don't know about you two, but with Halfgren's absence, I have to investigate the area this Drider came from as a warden of this forest.
Oh, you have a title? Did not know that.
I do now.
Oh.
Do you happen to know how far we are from the town?
Which town?
The one we were just at.
Feldar?
Mm-hmm.
It's what, 3 days, 3 to 5?
Yeah, it's about 3 days of travel, 5 days, 5 to 7 if you didn't have a guide, but with a guide, 3 to 5 at most.
It'll take me about 3 to 5 if we're not, 3 if we're not hampered. I know these woods very well. I know that path.
Well, that's why you beat the fox here. Got it.
There was the whole teleportation.
Yes.
That really kind of did that.
That was very woozy and weird.
We might yet see that fox in like a day or two if we hang out.
I should report back. Do you have any paper, anything, parchment?
You're welcome to
Oh, I have some
any
if you need
supplies
it.
we have. And I often carry some on me anyway. So.
Okay. So I set about finding it, and I just sit down and start writing a report the past few days.
Okay. So you spend a few minutes just writing out the events that have happened in the standard report format. So it's not like a diary, but by any means, it's a list of this is the introduction to what had happened. Here are the events that transpired, and here's how we dealt with these events. What should I do next? Kind of scenario.
Right.
That has been written out, and you now have this this report letter available to you. Kind of chronologizing your events over the past few days.
Right. Does anyone have any way of delivering this message to the city? I don't exactly know if I want to.
Would we have like some sort of like birds on hand to send messages, like between other druids?
You can try to do a Twitter thing.
So the irony of it is like is as you say that you hear the birds chirping around the clearing, and in essence, what you could do is if you
Do not speak to animals.
yeah, exactly, you could do that and have one maybe just take the letter to where it needs to go,
Yeah.
especially
That's
being
the idea, just
not
like
too
tie
far
it to
away.
his leg.
Yeah, that kind of thing can be the case. Druid communication is more typically through imparting the message, sending it through the animal, and then the animal delivering it, being there, and then releasing that message to the other druid.
Basically what I did with
Yep, exactly what you did with the fox. So this, though, if you'd like to do a animal handling check.
Send a raven.
I'll see if I can convince a feathered friend to deliver. 17?
Yeah, absolutely. So you step out, and all the animals here are extremely familiar with you, and very comfortable. So you just kind of
full of birdseed.
yeah, you hold your hand out with birdseed, and like 5 different birds come to you at once, almost. Some resting along your arm. The one closest to you is actually a falcon. Lands on your shoulder. It's a small falcon. There's a specific name, but it's a small-sized falcon, and lands upon your shoulder, and just kind of rubs its head up against yours and looks at you.
Kind of nuzzle it, get some seeds. Would you mind delivering this missive for me?
And I wanted to do it so bad, but I can't do it. Makes the type of yes, it's like the screech that a falcon makes, but it's lower, like yes. I tried 3 times. I'm not gonna be able to fucking do it. So it makes this little kind of.
That's on your soundboard.
Yep, it kind of agrees to do so.
Okay.
Just to kind of explain the Bright Blades area.
Is it going to Edgewater to the oh god, what's it called? The
Sanctum.
Sanctum. Yeah, is it going to the Sanctum in Edgewater, or is it going back to Feldar to the Mare or something? Or going to there to then be transported somewhere else by some other
I
standard
don't think anyone in
means.
Feldar would know to.
To send it on.
Yeah, if you just sent that letter without a external letter to it, so if you wrap it up in a scroll so the falcon can grab a hold of it.
Right.
If you were to send just that, someone would get it and be like, "What?" But if you sent another wrapped around that, they would open that, and then the instruction of that could be to do something, or you could send it straight
to the old
to.
lady.
Oh, okay, cool. Just as is, or with information on top of that. In a specific maybe communication or instruction for her.
Right, ask her what to do next.
Okay.
It's a deity.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you affix this to
Quick little note.
the falcon.
Thing.
Yep. And it's all kind of wrapped up tightly, and you fix it to the falcon's leg, and it kind of leans in for another handful of birdseed grains, and just eats a bunch of them real quick, and then jumps up and just takes off, fluttering its wings as fast as possible up above the trees, and then you can see it angle over, and then by the trees it's kind of blocked from your vision, but it is bolting towards Feldar.
We're really good friends.
Yeah.
Took off.
Yep.
May steps sees this. Bryn, you look like I've only seen princesses do something like that from the land called Disney. It was amazing seeing you talk to all those birds.
Us druids have a special relationship with nature.
I can only talk to one.
Sure you do.
And at this time, a little tiny blue bird kind of jumps off of Bryn's shoulder and flies up in front of you, and just kind of like flutters around. It doesn't land on you, but it's just in front of you. And then you kind of reach your hand up to let it land on it, and it and takes off.
See?
And just flies away.
That's what I mean.
They're not fond of strangers. We don't get a lot of company here.
Oh. I am probably the strangest stranger they've ever seen.
You're certainly strange.
Got her.
Yeah. Well, people are strange when you're a stranger.
So now that the letter has been sent, Is there any specific course of action you guys would like to take while you're here, or a direction you want to go?
Those corpses are probably too damp to burn right now.
Druidcraft is, I believe, makes no relevance to that because it's magical fire.
Okay. Well, I definitely still want to do that.
Okay. So you step over and raise your hands out and concentrate for a moment, and a ring of green fire kind of erupts around and then spreads across, and this bonfire, because everything is quite large here, but the clearing is clear enough to where it's not going to damage anything else.
Were the spiders scattered? Because I had gathered them, but then with the animate, was that just
that was just a dream?
Okay.
Yeah, that was just a dream.
I missed that part.
That didn't really
Yeah.
Or did it?
No, as far as you know, maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
Probably happened.
Anime.
Hey.
But as far as
Scurry
someone
back.
thinking logically in the sense of spiders dancing, it did not. But Maze's
Only dancing
fantasy
spiders in
mind
my life.
loved the idea, and it kind of brings it into her awake mind and her real mind, and makes her think maybe that was the thing.
I will. Yeah, I say I'll help and pick up one and kind of do it.
Pick up a spider that is twice your size, like
Yeah.
this. You find an errant dead garden spider, and you pick it up and do that with it,
Yeah,
and
it's
then toss it
playing
onto
with
the
it.
fire.
I help heft everything onto the fire.
Perfect.
It's fun while it lasted.
Try to make sure the scourge disappears.
They were
Halfgren
burning
just
up
shows
the
up.
dance
There's
floor.
a dead rider.
Wouldn't
But
that
the
be
head's still in
interesting?
his hut, so
Yeah, you
It's
might
still
want to take
there.
that.
Oh, you just,
Oh.
I thought it was attached to
Just
your pack.
sitting on the table or something.
Oh, that's
it's
a
on the
weird
ground.
place.
It doesn't. It's not important.
So
I mean, you would lose your head if it wasn't attached. I mean, you just leave it laying there.
It's not my head.
That's true.
So as you guys are kind of debating this and starting up the fire, you hear a large wolf howl off in the distance, and
Friend of yours.
and then shortly after, as you're kind of like, what was that? The trees begin to kind of rustle around the area, and through the trees jumps a massive, even Kaled Strats, the back of this wolf is eye level with you. It's
Okay.
if it were to stand
big one.
up, it's gonna be able to be over you. It's like a
We call them
dire wolves.
A dire wolf.
no, I'm trying to think of warg. It's like a warg in
Oh.
essence as far
Okay.
as size comparison towards what you guys' size is.
Right.
And it bursts through the trees, and sitting on its back, riding it, is a small elven woman. She's a wood elf dressed in kind of a myriad of grays and greens and
pretty?
browns. Very, yes, by all standards.
Friend of yours.
And she has reddish brown hair that is pulled back and kind of braided around the sides and then back down across with a braid going down the back, and then the rest of her hair kind of hanging loosely, so the braid kind of holds back the rest of the hair.
This is who I think it is.
She bursts through and immediately has an arrow drawn on her short bow and points it at the two of you, and then notices that it's Bryn. Bryn, welcome home.
Kira, hail.
And then as this greeting happens, you see a multitude of other wood elves, just of all varying personas and sizes and such. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 males and 1, 2, 3 females, all just kind of jump up out of kind of the bushes, a couple still up in the trees, bows clearly having been drawn and coming back together and being put away as the greeting happens. Kira jumps down from the back of her wolf and kind of slides down his leg because he kind of leans forward and allows her to kind of, she lands.
Style.
Yep, in a way,
I think
yeah.
Flintstones.
Yeah, in a way, both of those
Different
things.
eras.
Two people.
And-
Two kinds of people.
And she kind of lightly speaks to the wolf and just says, "Uriaria morahaya oralis," and kind of points off to the side, and the wolf.
How long did you practice that in your head?
0.3
Realistic.
seconds. Like right before I said it, it was in my head. So,
Nice.
and he bends down and. Do any of you speak Elvish?
I do.
Oh, do I?
Okay, so what you hear is,
convenient.
what you hear because
That's a
of
good thing,
the
yeah.
inverse and the flow of the language, it in essence says, Rallis, surround us, keep watch. And he disappears off and
cover.
runs around. And you hear him at first, like, burst into the tree, and then it's just dead silence. So it's like he intentionally made noise and then did his job and went silent and was,
Just kind of like padding around.
yep.
I would imagine sprinting around would
Yep,
cause
just
a lot.
kind of almost, almost running still, but like keeping a good pace and just you cannot see him anymore. He's
I like wolf jaw.
bolted off. yeah, kind of a wolf and jog.
Kira, what brings you to our woods?
Well, I was tracking this band that you have clearly dispatched of excellent work, and I was hoping to come across Halfgren prior to their arrival. However, I have not seen Halfgren in a few days. Are you aware of where he's gone?
He did not say. I've been away for a time, and when I returned, he left a note.
Can I see the note? She looks at it and
He's like, did you carry it with you?
just kind of like checks it to see if there's any kind of extra thing you may have missed on it.
Bryn, buddy,
Odd.
Yes?
She kind
are
of
you going to
hands it back
introduce
to you.
us?
Oh, my apologies. These are my current traveling companions.
Skeletrats.
And how
Yeah,
tall are
those
you again?
miracles.
How tall are you again, Kill? You're like
A tall. Like
you're like 6.5 feet tall or something,
6'8",
right?
something
Yeah.
like
So she is not a tiny person, but she's like 5'6", 5'7". At most, at best, probably more like that's just what she says to people, and she's really like 5'5" or 5'4".
So like Shaquille O'Neal and his wife.
Yeah, kind of thing. And she just kind of looks up at you, and she's like, "Welcome, Blade Master."
And this is Mazakine.
You could call me Mace. I like your wolf. Is that a true wolf, or is it like a warg? Because he turns into animals.
Rallis is a very oversized winter wolf.
Ah,
He
well
is,
fed.
he is one that I have raised since he was a pup.
Oh, I hear him.
You do hear him off in the distance, and she, for a moment, like she was all smiling and happy and explaining this, and she just goes like dark and like listens. As this almost she's hearing something talk to her, kind of like, and then stops. Anyways, all is well.
Do you know what he said?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
That's good. I have an animal friend as well that apparently only I could hear him.
Very interesting. Animals can be excellent companions. So,
It is good nature.
what transpired here? How did you find this base? Were they already here, or was this an ambush of some sorts?
I'll go ahead and just kind of explain, like,
Okay. And he goes
What
through
the-
that you
the
guys all
whole
kind of
vision
arrived at
is.
the same
Yeah.
time after seeing that. And you
struck
actually
a
went
mighty
in.
blow that nearly tore it asunder.
Good for you. Excellent. And she turns back to Bryn again, and then goes, "This is very troubling. The woman in Veldar, she is not what she seems."
not one bit.
Oh, that is news to us. I will have to inform my father of this.
I didn't much care for her.
Really? Okay. Was she? Did she seem dangerous to you? Is she a threat to the forest?
No, not necessarily. She, her methods are a little odd.
Okay, understandable. Well, I will inform my father still, and we will see what he decides as to how we must proceed. And, well, maybe I'll be joining you back in Feldar at some point. Though, I do think that the townsfolk there would react quite oddly to Rallis.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What were you looking for Halfgren for?
Primarily just to make sure he's okay. We have not heard from him for a while, and he would have typically come and spoke with us at this time. Again, she pauses and We have still not been able to find him, though even at multiple times I have asked Radas to venture out, potentially even to his own detriment. I feel terrible for it, but we are concerned. It has been some time. It has been weeks, and as you know, Hafgren and my father share a special bond of friendship that is akin to your own. My father is one of the few that Hafgren trusts and confides in, and vice versa. So we had expected to see some of him, and we have not seen him for a while. And I led the band out to see if we could locate him. That was a different sound. It was not the wolf. It was more of a kind of Elkins type sound off in the distance, and you see her brow kind of furrow briefly and then release, and then she kind of glances around at the treetops, and she motions to one and then the other side, and then those two elves just kind of vanish off towards the sound.
Would I like think that sounds strange as well? Or
slightly, but not to the extent that you feel you need to immediately go and investigate or anything. It's just more of for her. It's we need to verify that, and for you, it's that's of the nature. That's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Things happen in nature, kind of thing.
Maze will ask, is there a war going on here in this land?
There are many things happening all over the place, Pale One. We are aware of many things. We are aware of many threats. However, here we keep the forest safe. We guard it. We keep evil from entering it. However, this instance here is one that we were unable to catch in time before the corruption had entered into the woods. As you can see, the path there is now quite dark.
Do you battle things that refer to the shadows quite often, or as of lately? Or is this new?
I roll a d20, and I just want to see where it lands.
Okay.
Just straight up.
Because you know, roll low. Natural 20.
Well, I doubt that. Yeah. Oh, a 19 though. We'll consider that kind of more of like a persuasion, trying to get information or something. So it's obviously over that. But because you had a natural 20,
if you're going to add persuasion, that'd be a +6.
She kind of leans in and speaks only to you guys, making sure her voice doesn't carry. There have been a couple of instances. We have caught a couple of beasts that were traveling through, of the were type, and they had mentioned the shadows. They were headed towards Ursia. They were dark, corrupt. We have seen skin changers before that had the same appearance, but not in the same corruption. There's something going on here.
We have fought a couple of things that were referred to the shadows that we learned that weren't always that dark or that corrupt.
Yes.
So we're trying to figure out what's going on.
Upon the slaying, they call out for the shadows to protect them. It is something we are still pondering. And then she steps back. And a male elf jumps down. And you hear that she says, Kasu, come here. Do you think that is safe? And he responds, no, we should leave soon. And so you hear this as naturally. And she turns back. Unfortunately, Bren, there is some kind of threat. We would encourage you to continue looking for Hafgren. I truly don't know where he is, but this is not something he would ignore. This corruption, he would be involved. We must travel back to the west. Something stirs over there. Ralas has found it. We'll report back if we could cross paths again. Until then, Godspeed. And she kind of just like pats on your shoulder, and she had gone from that, like as the conversation progressed, she became continually kind of like troubled looking and concerned, but and her kind of happy, cheery demeanor kind of faded down to a more stern and direct course of action. But then before she leaves, as soon as she kind of like pats on your shoulder, she smiles brightly, and you feel like kind of a warmth in your body. Both of you do. And Maze is just kind of over there like, this is a very pleasant individual. And you're kind of like invigorated again, and she kind of winks to you, Bryn, and disappears into the trees.
It was good to see you, friend.
Always, Bryn, always. You hear the voice kind of echo through the trees, and she's gone.
Did I catch the wink?
Roll a perception.
I did not.
What'd you roll?
Natural 1.
No, not even all.
You didn't see the wink.
I was just so like awestruck.
Yeah, you're exactly. You're just kind of like.
Was for me, yeah.
She's so pretty.
Exactly, and it was with her right eye, and her left side was to you as she kind of.
Right. And then, so as she's turning and going, and she says, "And you?" And I was like, "It was nice meeting you."
Silence.
Right. Miss every shot you don't take. Okay. How do you know her?
Well, growing up around this forest, like we've crossed paths many times.
Just crossing paths. Respect.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Is she also
The closest thing I have to a friend.
a warden of some sort? She seemed like a general.
Of a type.
So you go on to explain briefly that Kira leads the band of elven warriors that you saw. There are a total of 8 of them plus her, so 9 including Rallis. And the her general task is they're a band of rangers, and they adventure around through the edges to make sure that the forest stays safe and protected from threats. Whereas the druids are more, they care for the forest and maintain it properly, and then will combat any threats from within, type of thing.
Rescue rangers, got it.
They're the shield, we're something else. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of. It's the
nice
So they're like a
wax that
flower
you
pot.
apply to
yeah,
They're
exactly.
They're the flower pot, you're the seed.
I was thinking like they're the plow, you're the earth.
We'll just come up with the peanut butter, the jelly, and
Food.
There's some kind of association here and some thing that works, but we haven't quite found it yet. Yeah, so they have now left. All of the other elves actually had disappeared prior to even seeing her. As soon as Kasu came up and spoke with her, he ran off and the rest of them left, and she was the last to dart out. So now you guys are back alone with the fire that, while not putting off an extreme amount of heat, is extremely useful and powerful and has diminished down this horde of bodies to more of a pile of still burning ash. So it's just this blackened pile in the middle of the clearing with green flames kind of licking around the edges of it.
Well, that was some awfully convenient information.
Funny that.
Apparently that corruption's spreading is worse.
From what I gathered, it seems to be. And
We should find your friend. I have no ulterior motive to doing this whatsoever.
not just because the pretty lady
said.
said we should. Yes, if this was something that Halfgren knew of or detected, he would be investigating and on the threat itself. And like I was already gonna go follow the path that they made.
Right. The blades say know where to find me. Hopefully.
Yeah, if the letter
you sent
arrives
the
properly,
letter,
right?
I sent it to the lady.
Right. I would welcome the assistance if you would like to join.
Wait, did you say that out loud that you sent it back to the lady?
Yeah, he would have had to for Bryn to,
Gotcha,
and you guys were all
To
in the
know
same area.
where it was going.
It's a good
Made
call.
a
She could
secret
get
bird
things
meeting.
quickly.
I
And
mean, if the
she
way I
seems to know
saw
what's
it
going
was,
on.
if nothing else, and she's like, no, you need to be on this other thing now, she'd open a portal and tell us.
Yeah, that's actually a good
That's right,
point.
she could.
Yeah.
She would have the
She
ability to do so,
Yeah,
clearly.
Because she said
she would just
that-
open a portal and be like,
yeah.
what are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, right. That's actually a really interesting concept. I can always pull you out of something.
So you've already put
Not
that,
a Deus
you've already
Ex
put that in the
Machina.
canon.
Right, exactly.
Not literally
Unless you put limits on
Deus
her.
Ex Machina.
Unless you put limits on her power. But
Right.
Okay.
But, you know,
But I
goddesses.
don't.
Metagaming.
She's a goddess.
Yeah.
No, I'm a religious person.
Yeah.
I met a goddess. I'm going to believe in her power.
Right.
That's what it takes. I got you.
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to go with you.
Okay. Is there anything you guys are going to gather or do prior to heading out? And you feel like you're well stocked, well supplied?
Yeah, just
Is
Make
there a
sure
place I can put
all
the
that
head
stuff.
that's safe? Halfgren won't get mad if he finds it.
Is it possible to put it in some sort of like water resistant
Put it in
bag
this
and put it
bonfire.
in the stream
So
it stays
as
cold?
you guys, no, there's not.
Needs to have hidden
So-
mini heads before in her life.
yeah. So as you guys are kind of having this discussion of what could we do with it, Bryn drops the fire and just the fire dies out, and he instructs you to set it on top of the pile of ash. And so you go grab it, and now there's this black pile of ash with a Drider's head sitting on top of it.
burn it. But that works too, I guess, if you
we'll
really
do
need
that.
the head.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Maze takes
Yeah,
the
it's
stick and
salt.
tries to like move its
Pure.
dead mouth to make it look like it's slightly smirking, but with its head, and then make it frown. So it's like an angry, happy thing. Because that's what I saw in my dream. Yeah, there you go.
And, like part of it kind of slumps back
It just
a
comes
little
up-
bit,
it just
but
comes out,
it
like,
still has like
It's
half of it.
Confused. Like,
This is
Yeah.
just like my dream. I mean, usually if you dream of something, you have to make it come true. They say follow your dreams.
who says
I
that?
don't think that's how that phrase works.
I read it on some sort of porridge container thing one morning.
Well,
Maybe I misread it. Translation good's a little weird.
If you guys ever find the person who's invented all of these things that Maze knows of, it's going to be a very interesting
I'm
conversation.
just like, this goes crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe anything she says, but I don't know if I can prove it wrong.
That's true.
Okay. So, you guys begin your journey down.
She never said she was going to join.
Oh, yeah. So, you two begin walking
Maze
away.
will just pretty much look
He's
around,
leaving.
Yeah.
and I want to see more of these shadow things. I'm curious about them. I mean, they can't all be bad. I mean, we're about to see one that's going to be like, I serve the shadows, but hey,
But they're dicks. I'm not with it.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. So I want to meet
Not
one of
down
those.
like that.
Perfect. So, the three of you then begin to travel down the darkened, ruined path.
So we're going like.
Are you
'cause it
going
came
to
from
follow-
Alice.
Like decayed plants. Like,
Yeah, it's like decayed and
easy trail to follow.
yeah, it's very easy to follow, and it's very wide as well. You sense that it, without even checking, you can kind of feel that it goes beyond your sight, but that would make it roughly 100 yards wide. So it's massively wide in comparison to what it is, but in comparison to like the overall breadth of the forest, it's not a huge spot, but it is a scar across it. If aerial views were a thing at this point, actually, yeah, an aerial view, you call upon a bird and
I was
get an
about to say,
idea
you
that
could
it
call
is
it a bird or be a bird or.
almost.
You could.
Sort of.
Can't you
But,
talk
I
to
don't know
her?
much about
You,
birds.
uh,
It's a secret.
Yeah. But you,
You might just be assume as Kale that I could be a bird.
yeah, you know that this is like a scar on the land now, kind of thing. That could in some way be healed or fixed, but is at this point
Beyond
just a
my
blackened
skill.
stretch of land that leads up to the cloud spires.
So us touching this ground isn't causing any damage to us because clearly when the cloud came through, it was damaging the tree life around it. Like, is this affecting us in any way? Do we need to like not breathe, not touch it? Or...
Roll a medicine check.
Oh, I'm decent at those, except for rolling.
Right.
It was a
always the trick.
14 plus. Where my med go? Oh, 18.
18. So You gather that this most likely was some kind of like magical, like necrotic type of decay. It was like intentional. And the way that everything was structured and the way that the path kind of seems to widen as it comes and shrink as it comes towards the clearing, it's like they knew the path they were going upon. They were decaying in a very intentional method. So the Drider was likely sending this power through each of the spiders ahead of him, and they were spaced out in a specific spacing to where they would hit the largest amount possible as they went through. So he was using them as a conduit for the necrotic energy to expand out, and then they would kill and maim as they went as well. Which
for Spider One,
so are we like crossing like animal corpses?
Yeah, so you're passing over animal
Gotcha.
corpses, deer that are just slain. You have with like their throats ripped and nothing else done to them. You find a large male deer with his horns just broken off and then stabbed into him. Very, very dark, and you see a bunch of like birds and squirrels wrapped in these webs, but their bodies are like blackened, almost like fire, but not fire. It's like they're just pure life force was withered out of them, and what was left was just this husk of a creature. Very revolting to see. However, as you pass through the space, it does not affect you because the source has been destroyed at this moment, because the Drider himself is taken down.
No, I'm used to necrotic damage. Do I get a sense that they know what this is? Pretty much. If not, I will share my
Right. So you could have
wisdom.
explained it that it. Yeah, he knows it's very
clearly
evil.
it's
He
bad.
knows it's absolutely adverse to the way things should be. This is not the natural order. This is cruel and malicious. This is evil. Exactly. True, because you guys know Bryn is
thinking
not
of all the
a
people that
vegetarian
they-
or anything in that capacity. He eats meat. He takes from the land provides for him. It's a methodology that the druids and others that live in this type of space share, where the land provides and the individuals that are provided for honor the land and respect it. It's only as needed. It's never a malicious scenario. It's never just killing for killing or killing for sport. It's only for survival. Primarily, the diet in this area would consist more of berries and eggs and other renewable type resources. However, at certain points, death is natural. Death is a thing that happens. Other animals eat other animals. So in this kind of realm and world, people are an animal in essence, and they are omnivorous. So it's a very natural order, a very respectful order, and that is partially why this is so intensely revolting to Bryn. And you notice kind of like almost an anger. You feel it welling up inside of you of like, this is the most wrong thing I've ever seen. And you guys see kind of a furrowing of his brow, and you know it's very evil, and you recognize the direct source and direct descriptor of it and why it is this way. However, you are hearing birds come back into the area, and it brings you a sense of peace in your anger that enables you to focus and lead on through this area. Though it is an easy path to follow, there are still dangers in the space, and you are making sure that everybody kind of avoids those.
Can I tell if it'll just kind of heal itself, or if this is a more permanent kind of damage?
Yeah, do a nature check on that.
Well, that's a nat one.
Oh.
That's a 5 total.
Can
What are we
Maze
looking for?
dealing with
Nature.
necrotic as an assurance, because I see it bothers him, to let him know that, but I know, like, okay, I've dealt with this. If you don't keep doing it, things can come back from necrotic. Like a way of saying, like, I think your forest will be okay, or would I be like,
Or
ow.
they just kind of like bend down and just kind of like.
Yeah, so you explain that as he bends down and checks it, and go ahead and re-roll now.
I say I do this kind of
Oh, that's better.
damage, but I
12.
control it.
Yeah, so you feel like it's going to take some time without any kind of aid or help from those that are attuned with nature. But it will eventually come back, though it may come back very different than what it was previously.
Maze just lets him know, I do this necrotic type of damage, but it's controllable. I don't use it to necessarily always kill things. It's a way of taking life from others. I use it when I badly need life, but I've never used it to this magnitude. Whatever did this is nothing like what I've done or can do.
It's maybe not as reassuring as you want it to be.
Yeah, Maze doesn't know. I'm used to
It's a
death.
bounce, yeah.
I'm also like,
Because the way she describes it is
That's
that
just like how we respond to launch.
I know,
Yeah.
this is just like, I do this. This is
right.
I
amazing.
appreciate the assurance.
The way she describes it is intended in a sense to be like, hey, I'm just, the only time I do necrotic stuff generally, as you guys have seen, is to aid myself in staying alive instead of just maliciously killing, is the kind of vibe that you get. But at the same time you go, but I thought she was a cleric.
Right.
I'm like,
Exactly like that.
And Maze puts a few
you are
leaves.
so hard to suss out. When
So-
I know I can't believe anything you say.
Traveling on, you guys
likes me.
spend the better part of the day heading northward toward the Cloud Spires. Because of Bryn leading you, it is not terribly difficult to traverse this area. However, you will have to make camp and travel for a full day afterwards to actually get to the base of the mountains based on the relation of where this space is. So as you guys come to a space, you kind of veer off the path to get away from this sickness and decay, and give yourself kind of a reprieve from dealing with it. As you come to a nice cleared area, take a seat, start up a small fire, and is there any further things you guys want to zero in on with each other, or will you just rest and rise?
Find a nice stick to whittle.
Okay, perfect.
Does he need another torch?
I still have that Naginata, right?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you destroyed them.
I was
No, he
going
wants to destroy it,
okay.
but instead he just had it with him.
Gotcha.
because we got busy doing other things.
Are you going to try to just destroy yourself,
No,
or
it's not at all in my wheelhouse. I don't know how to do any of that. Do you?
To destroy a weapon?
To destroy something?
I just hit it a lot until it breaks. That's usually what happens to me.
Okay, then no, you're not the one I want to talk
I don't know. You want me to touch it?
to. No thanks.
Trees don't like me. I mean,
I
it's made of
don't-
wood. I could probably touch it and see if it runs away.
I bet you also think that if someone weighs the same as a duck, then they're a witch.
No, only if they turn me into a newt.
Well, it seems like you've gotten better. Anyway,
happy.
so Bryn,
Yes. Kale.
tell me about your relationship with Halfgreen. If it's not too personal.
Yes, you were in a hurry, so that was like your father or something.
Halfgrid would not like being referred to as my father. He raised me, sure, but I'm not of his blood. He's a mentor, a father figure, I suppose.
Is he snobby like that?
Not snobby. He's particular. He's you might say grumpy.
Cantankerous,
Yeah,
a little pedantic.
could be. Maybe not pedantic, but cantankerous is a good word. We'll use that one. He's raised me all my life. He's the only family I've ever known, which is why I had to leap to his aid.
I
can respect
understand.
that. So tell me more about what you do here?
Well,
Whatever you can tell me, that is.
right. It's a pretty simple life. We, as druids, we try to preserve the balance of nature, try to ensure its survival from threats such as the one we faced. You saw how bad that was for this area. So we contend with threats like those. Have I come across something like this before? Like
this kind of decay thing?
This kind of decay, like this kind of evil, like this kind of threat to the forest.
I mean, maybe some, something getting out of balance, but not necessarily like an attack on nature.
Roll, I'll put it under nature, just because it's specific relation to your memory of natural things.
That's a net one again.
Okay.
So 5 total, but
Mace has no
So-
assuring words this time.
You've seen a couple random, leaves turning black and kind of curling up and stuff, but that's all you can really remember. Definitely nothing widespread like this. You would remember that even on a nat 1, regardless.
Right.
Like if you had been concussed
forgot about
obnoxiously,
my
you would.
life.
Yeah. So, but there's definitely never been anything on this scale.
maybe more faith threats than
Just small little things.
man.
So, why did he send you to Feldar?
We were. What did we decide? We were tasked by a gathering of the druids, which happens somewhat regularly, but this one seemed a little more intense, and I was chosen to be the druids' representative because the druids had gotten a letter from what's his face.
Yep. So there had been
I completely forgot about until just now.
yeah, there had been communication sent to the druids in general, in a general sense, to the archdruids basically, and through that it was determined that Bryn would be their representative in this matter.
And who do you represent?
The lollipop kids? No, sorry.
It's a lollipop guild.
Guild.
They're
Sorry.
a commercial entity. They have paperwork. There's
They're
a
registered.
Clearly, I'm not
There's
organized.
a membership card, a fee.
I will be honest.
Collective bargaining.
Yes. Maze will have a moment of honesty. I represent no one. I am here out of my own knowledge seeking. There's things I want to learn. I want to learn how to help and heal, make things better.
And who put you in
And
contact?
if I want both of you guys to roll wisdom.
Wisdom?
Yeah.
Just plus our modifier?
Yep. So just roll plus modifier.
Give me a
Good
9.
rolls.
Nat 1.
Wow, we're
All the ones,
on,
man.
So you've got a
you're
9 and
critting
you've got a
all the time.
1.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to roll next. The ones are rolling down this way.
I'd rather less crit in combat, so it's fine.
Okay. Nothing comes to mind thinking back on where she came from or when or how you guys actually met. You can't remember who was there first or who came in last.
Just
I don't
kinda
remember
showed
the
up.
order, but I do remember. So the drow employer reached out to you individually.
I saw it as a good opportunity to learn how to help. He said pretty much the cliffy notes. The bad things were happening, and I've seen a lot of bad things, and the best way to do good things is to go to where the bad things are happening. And here I am to learn. And you two, with you being all shiny and everything good, it's the perfect person to follow to do good. And him, who is good with nature, which is everything that is beautiful. Like, all these leaves are beautiful. I need to follow that and learn more about it.
Can't fault those motivations.
So I'm currently pondering on my own life.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So, are you guys setting up any kind of watch or anything as you sleep, or do you
We'll just set
feel
up a watch.
confident?
I'll take the first.
Okay.
Whenever the darkest is, Maze will take because she has dark vision, so it'll be easy to see.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So second,
So second
basically. Yep. And then you'll do the
third,
rise.
yeah.
Perfect.
I can provide breakfast again.
Yeah. There you go. So in that
Brings you
order,
back.
You a
then
lot.
Yeah.
yeah, he eats
He's
a
a
lot.
dragon, he eats a lot.
I die a lot for you.
If you
Some
can,
extra
if you can keep
sustenance.
getting hit instead of me,
For
that's
sus-
fine.
So I just got it.
That's your deal.
So Jimmy Dean sausages, we have Brinny Dean sausages in the morning.
You got
So,
that. You got
as,
it.
Brandon
With
Dean.
one, I don't know.
Yeah.
As the two of you fall asleep, you actually begin to dream this night of a young elven woman rushing through the trees, fighting against orcs and slaying a small band of 3 to 5, and then it kind of fades out, and you then start to kind of toss and turn, and you feel restless, and you fall deeply into sleep, no dreams of any kind. And as your watch comes to an end, you awaken Maze. She takes up the second watch. You begin your rest. And at this time, you, back to Bryn, start to have nightmares of werewolves, black, red eyes with like blood coming from their eye sockets, towering over you and reaching down, like 3 different ones coming at you at once, and you flinch away, and then you see a different vision of webs throughout the whole forest. Everything is black and dead. The visions of what you had seen the previous day are now in this vision, widespread everywhere, and it feels like it's weighing down on you. There's a sense of despair of not being able to accomplish anything, and then you kind of shift away, trying to like look away from it, but you can't. And you look back towards the mountains, and your vision kind of into the wall, almost like you're hitting it, like you're falling, and it gives you that kind of start in your chest, and you kind of wake up a little bit and then roll over and fall back to sleep. And then you're in a space, stone and like crumbled old tunneling with some decay scattered about across the floor, just black sludge of some kind. Webs again hanging from the ceilings, and you come to a door that's set inside. After a moment of like being pulled forward, you come into this space, and there's a door in front of you that is thick dark wood with bars, and you see a hand grabs a hold of one of the bars, and on that hand there's a twisted wooden ring with vines twisted together and a green emerald set in there, and you recognize it, and you reach forward and you start to step forward, and then you just fall again into like mist, and now you're somewhere in fog, and you see the silhouettes of dead trees about you, and you feel not as overwhelmed as you did previously, but you still feel lost. Look around and you don't recognize this area. And you hear, Bryn. And you wake up the moment you hear it. And you have Maze just looking up at the sky, sitting beside you. Kale is gently snoring off to the side. And you're now awake and begin to take your watch. Kale, you fall fairly rapidly asleep, and then you start to hear these sounds. A forge of a bellows cranking, and as you fall deeper into sleep, this smell comes into your nose of burning metals and smelting and fire. And in front of you, there's a forge, very ornate, and a silvery-looking massive anvil, and the bellows again. And you look down, and you see your hand is your forearms are thicker than they normally were. Your skin is glistening and shining, silver reflecting the light of the fire. You have a heavy mallet, a steel mallet in your right hand, and then you look back to your left and you see the twisted, dark-looking naginata. You lay it on the anvil, and you want to just smash it, and instead you hold it up again and put it into the fire. Pull it out, swing at it, hit it, and hit it, and hit it again and again, repeatedly, just bashing at the end of it, reforming it, and giving it just a different, slightly different shape, a wider, more like spear type shape to it. And you look at it in disgust and throw it down. And the hand comes to your head, and when that happens, just your vision goes dark again, and you see that same view of over the top of the mountains. It feels cold. And the cold is a relief. Your wings, you feel behind you, flap. And from that, heat comes off of you. You're now cold. You come down to the snow, but when you land in the snow, you don't land on your feet, you land on your hands, but your hands come down into a bipedal, or into a quadrupedal stance, and the snow poofs up around you. As it does, your vision comes back again, and you see yourself from a third-person perspective, sitting in a cave on a throne, carved of silver, inlaid with a multitude of gems. Amongst the area around this, there are sapphires and rubies and finely crafted weaponry. Your vision comes back again, and you're back in the forge, making something different now. You look over, the naginata is still on the ground, but now you have something new. A block of metal that you've heated, and you now begin to strike upon that, the heat blazing up into your face, and you begin to carve and fashion a sword. And as you swing upon it again, the sparks fly off of it, and you kind of start awake, very close to the fire now. And you're drenched in sweat, and you come to consciousness, and you kind of glance around to see if anyone noticed. You don't see Bryn present within the campsite. Maze is sleeping again, kicking her feet a little bit, and kind of with a slight smile on her face. And you kind of sit up, just wondering what it was you just saw and what it means. Bryn steps back into the clearing. The morning light starts to kind of come over the trees, lighting the space into a like kind of bluish light. Fire's going beside you still, and Bryn steps back with supplies for making a meal. And that is where we'll pick up next week. Dreams. I think dreams are one of my, like, I'm always on the dreams. But thank you guys for tuning in and watching this evening. Congratulations again to Shay for winning the dice this week. You can expect an email within an hour or so. And we will see you guys next time. So thanks for hanging out. Adios.